I love a good rerun. Between TV on demand, streaming services, and downloading off the glorious internet, the concept of the rerun has pretty much been replaced by the season rewatch. Reruns were kind of the same thing as rewatching Community, Archer, or something you've seen before on Netflix for the umpteenth time. The only differences are you don't get to pause the episode at any time, choose what episode you're going to watch, how many episodes you want to watch in a row, or when you get to watch them. The TV did those parts for you. Oh yeah, and about 8 to 12 minutes of the 30-minute program was commercials. Whether it's an attempt to relive the joy a show brought you the first time you saw it, or just sheer boredom, it seems people rewatch content they've already seen more than ever these days. The rerun probably started in 1951 with I Love Lucy, at least as far as network television goes. Rebroadcasting a program gave the viewer a chance to catch an episode they might have missed, and allows the network to further capitalize on old content, squeezing every last drop of advertising possibilities to their full potential. Anyways, by means of a website that will remain anonymous, but might involve these two things, I got my hands on season 1 and 2 of Knight Rider, starring David Hasselhoff, or the Hoff as he is better known. The plot of Knight Rider isn't super important. Basically, the Hoff is a detective who gets killed. Luckily, he wasn't super dead and was able to be revived, and through reconstructive surgery was given a new face and a new identity. Michael Knight. Most of the show is him driving around and talking to attractive women, but ever so often he's got to throw a punch or do stunt driving that potentially might injure him in real life. Enter the Stunt Double. With some clever editing, you can show a shot of the Hoff, cut to another shot where you can't quite make out it's not him doing the stunt driving or getting punched or something, then cut back to the Hoff, looking so good. Seamless. The audience doesn't know that the Hoff isn't amazing at stunt driving or a force to be reckoned with. A contender for the first ever stunt double was Frank Hanaway in 1903. Frank was ex-USA Cavalry and had an amazing talent to fall off a horse without injuring himself. This won him a part in the 1903 film The Great Train Robbery. Around the turn of the century, the Spanish-American War had just ended. There were a bunch of ex-soldiers and people alike trained to do all sorts of dangerous stuff, and they were looking for work. At the same time, the film biz was starting to boom. Being a stunt double was a way to make a few bucks or start to build your portfolio in terms of work experience on the silver screen. It's not clear if Frank actually got paid for falling off a horse a bunch of times, but in 1908, a nameless acrobat jumped upside down off a cliff into the sea in the film The Count of Monte Cristo for $5. Possibly the first paid stunt gig. And correcting for inflation, $5 in 1908 money would be around $150 in 2021 money. Both of these examples aren't quite stunt doubles, however, and they would fall more into the category of stuntman or stunt person. Every stunt double is a stunt person, but not every stunt person is a stunt double. According to jobmonkey.com, a stunt double's average salary is $70,000 a year USD, but it swings wildly depending on experience and how much work you are able to drum up. A starting stunt person might only get a few gigs a year, making only $5,000. A seasoned pro, however, can make up to $250,000 a year for putting themselves in harm's way. The highest paid stunt, according to Guinness, the book, not the beer, was $150,000 for jumping off of the CN Tower in T.O. Dar Robinson, who did the stunt, fell for about 10 seconds, so roughly made $15,000 per second, which is actually more than Jeff Bezos makes per second. The stunt was for a doc called The Ultimate Stuntman, starring Dar. So one could argue again, this isn't a stunt double, and more of a stunt person situation. A stunt double is kinda a cross between a body double and a stunt performer. A body double might be used in a case where an actor has to perform a feat they aren't really that good at. Maybe a complicated dance routine or fancy trick like juggling crystal balls. In the 1986 movie Labyrinth, David Bowie plays Jareth, a wizard sorcerer type deal who is badass with a crystal ball. As talented as Bowie is in real life, he isn't a juggler. Michael Motion actually did the stunt ducking behind Bowie out of frame, so not as much a body double as an arm double. It's pretty amazing that Michael was able to perform the trick not only in an uncomfortable position, but also not looking at his arm. If you really want to make it as a stunt double on the long term, becoming part of an actor's support crew is your ticket. Looking kind of like the actor is probably the biggest factor for getting your foot in the door, or maybe more accurately, your face in the door. But I'm sure there are exceptions here and there, depending on qualifications. Most big-time actors from the 70s on had stunt doubles they've been working with for decades. Other actors, like Jackie Chan, back in the day at least, insisted on performing all their own stunts. Does this really bring more people to see your movie? Or get you more roles in films if the public knows you're actually a crazy motherfucker? Probably not. Chan broke his ankle attempting a stunt where he jumped onto a moving hovercraft, putting him out of commission for a few weeks and delaying production. He also had to finish filming Rumble in the Bronx with a cast on one foot and wore a special giant cast sock to hide the fact he was doing amazing stunts with a cast on his leg. CGI has definitely chipped into the stunt double biz. The first time I can recall seeing a CGI stunt was in Mission Impossible, when Tom Cruise basically jumped from an exploding helicopter and landed onto a train traveling in a tunnel at something like 300 kilometers an hour. Not that Tom Cruise isn't a crazy motherfucker, and I found out when researching for this video, he also proudly does most of his own stunts. He actually learned how to fly a helicopter for a scene in one of the later MI movies, and they developed a special rig for the cameras to take multiple angles to make sure everyone would see no one else in the helicopter's cockpit, and he is flying it by himself. But there is a limit to what a human body can attempt and walk away from. CGI has definitely pushed the boundary of stunt possibilities. Is it still even a stunt if it's just made on a computer? Animals also have stunt doubles in some cases. On the sitcom Frasier, Moose, who played the dog Eddie on the show, had a stunt dog double named Enzo. I'm not a huge Frasier fan and never watched the show, but maybe I should if a dog is doing some crazy shit. I always thought the show was kind of boring. Wishbone is another show I never saw, but apparently Soccer, the dog in the show, hated swimming and had a stunt dog to handle the doggy paddle parts. Eddie Kidd, or actually Sir Eddie Kidd, is a famous stunt double who has doubled Harrison Ford among other actors. Standing in for Harrison Ford in Hanover Street, he jumped 120-foot railway cuttings at 90 miles per hour on a motorcycle, and did a bunch of stunt work for various Bond films over the years also. He was knighted by the Queen in 2012. Hal Needham doubled Burt Reynolds in a bunch of his early movies, and actually got the upgrade to stunt director, calling the shots for a bunch of car chase scenes in Smokey and the Bandit and Cannonball Run. Michelle Yeoh is also a case of stunt double turned director, and is tight with Jackie Chan. Chan actually said she is the only one he trusts to help him map out his stunts. Colin Forenwinder has doubled Bruce Willis, the Baconator, Shia LaBeouf, and worked in a ton of movies like Die Hard, X-Men, Spider-Man, and a bunch more. He is apparently the go-to guy for the high-paced martial arts fighting style kind of stunts. Wendy Leach has been called the greatest stunt woman ever and has taken falls in the Indiana Jones movies, as well as performing the stunts for C-3PO in Star Wars. She also doubled Sharon Stone in Total Recall, another personal Greg fave movie. Vic Armstrong is another stunt person who doubled for Harrison Ford, particularly during the Indiana Jones movies. He is responsible for the stunts in Terminator and a bunch more of the Bond movies. A stunt double episode wouldn't be complete without the mention of a personal fave stunt person of mine, Super Dave Osborne. If you haven't seen the show, basically Super Dave enters the frame and talks about the comically dangerous stunt he is about to perform. He then preps for the stunt and switches camera angles. Super Dave has been replaced by a dummy Dave that gets smushed, squished, blown up, or whatever. After the stunt is over, they cut back to Dave, usually super hurt but not killed. Using a dummy as a stunt double is much more cost-effective, I'm sure, than a live human. I can't imagine anyone could survive most of his stunts, so it's not like a live stunt double is really an option anyways. Although it's the same old gag over and over, it still makes me smile every time. What is the future of film? Will CGI and voice simulations reach a point where actors will no longer be needed? It's crazy how realistic CGI is at the time I made this video, and I can only imagine it's going to get better and better. Or maybe in the future, people won't even be interested in watching movies anymore, and VR or something not yet invented will be how one entertains themselves. Or will the future be so busy that no one has time for entertainment anymore, and memory implants give you a memory of watching a movie or going on vacation? Kind of like Total Recall. Maybe I'm just old, but I still love sitting down with a few bevies after having a puff and watching a movie or a TV show. I love CGI effects, but still have a deep appreciation for how they used to get amazing shots the old-fashioned way, and the people who risked their lives in the spirit of entertainment. Sure, I'm guilty of sitting too close to the screen and picking a movie apart, but it doesn't mean I don't love them and appreciate how much work goes into a movie. Movies are supposed to be fun. Whatever it means to you to enjoy a movie, do it. And don't forget to watch the end credits and appreciate all the hard work that went into it.